first Native Connections webinar for this year. My name is DC Echohawk, and I'm a Communications Coordinator with the SAMHSA Tribal TTA Center. On behalf of the Native Connections team and Contracting Officer Representatives Maureen Madison and Jan Dunbar Cooper, I'd like to thank you all for joining us today. Facilitating today's session, Celebrating Our Connection, will be our grantee technical assistant colleagues, Dave Braveheart, Shabri Perico, Valerie Pingayak, and Chanel Ford. So I'll turn it over to Dave to open us up. Dave?
Thank you for that, BC. This is Dave Braveheart, grantee technical assistant with the Connections Project. I'm Ogallala Lakota from the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation. Pass it on to you, Shabri.
Hi, everybody. This is Shabri Perico. I am calling you from Seattle, Washington today, and I am a member of the Fort Sill Apache Tribe of Oklahoma, working with Native Connections grantees as a grantee technical assistant. Valerie?
Hello, everyone. This is Valerie Pingayak. I'm a grantee technical assistant for Tribal Tech, and I'm Shipik of the Kashunaمی tribe from Chivak, Alaska. Chanel?
Good morning, everybody. This is Chanel Ford. I am a member of the Spokane tribe. I reside in Spokane, Washington, and I am a grantee technical assistant for the Native Connections Project. I hope everyone's doing okay. I'm going to go ahead and pop us on over into our objectives and give a brief overview. Today, what we have planned is we wanted to open this year's webinar series with a celebration of your successes and give an opportunity to share experiences, highlight approaches, and engaging older youth through this Native Connections project. And we'll be sharing some key concepts. This is sustaining Native Connections initiatives and the role of older youth engagement in strengthening cultural protective factors. So with that, I hope you guys enjoy today's webinar. I'm going to kick it on over to Dave, and he's going to open us up with a grand entry.
Thank you so much, Chanel. Awesome. So good morning, good afternoon, my relatives, and thank you for joining us and taking the time to listen and share with us on this webinar. Today, we are truly honored to have you join us, and we want to honor each and every one of you for the hard work and dedication you put forward in your community over the last year. In that light, Mr. Hunter Jr. will sing a grand entry style song to honor you and your community. And while he is singing, please continue to type in your community, your name in the chat box so that we can acknowledge the community you represent. Hoka, Hunter, take it away. And now, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome our grantees into our virtual grand entry, all the way from UAF, Indian Nation, Kit Van Stell from Lac Flambeau, Wisconsin, Veronica Martinez and Lorraine Madison from Palo Band of Mission Indians, Department of Social Services. Welcome. And then Melanie Stevens from the Chehalis Tribe, Jody Larson from Hannahville, Francis Tacoma from Wabanaki Community in Maine, Nikki Jones, all the way from Tahlequah, Oklahoma, Ken Hoyt from Comanche Indian Tribe from Comanche, Alaska, Stephen Solarius, all the way from California Rural Indian Health Board. Welcome. Carrie Rowland from Anchorage, Alaska, and no other than Judy Simpson from Whiter Tribe in Whiter, Minnesota. And welcome Linda Gouge from Absentee Shawnee Tribe from Oklahoma. And Mary Galante Nellis from Bad River Band of Wisconsin. And welcome to Elizabeth Harris, all the way from Santa Ynez Tribal Health Clinic. And no other than Gary Newman from the GTA from Anchorage, Alaska. Tashina Roxbush, all the way from Red Cliff, Wisconsin. And then also Justin Jones, Trinket and Haida from Alaska. Thank you for joining us. Hona Pinkham, Lisa McCall, all the way from Seattle Indian Health Board. Valerie, take it away, our co-MC here.
Great, thank you, Dave. I'd like to say welcome to Leon Leader Charge all the way from Lakota Aguagua Sioux Tribe, Mark Kagoki, Red Cliff Tribe. Welcome Verna Mickelson, Wuzu Verna, GTA, she's one of our GTAs from New Mexico. Maureen Lilla of the Great Plains Tribal Chairman Health Board. Welcome, Maureen. And welcome, Georgiana Ningaliko of Salmon Bay, Alaska. And thank you for joining us, Dana Barrios, all the way from Sacramento Native American Health Center. And if any more of our grantees have joined us, please type in your tags in our chat box, and we'd like to welcome you to our event. Welcome Brittany Turner. She's from Comanche Native Prevention and Recovery from Lawton, Oklahoma. Welcome, Brittany. And also welcome Marguerite Wakapeke from the Absentee Shawnee Tribe in Oklahoma. Welcome Nolan Espeak. And he says, good morning all. He's from the Dene Nation of UAII in Los Angeles.
And also, Vernon, let's welcome Peyton Counts from the Turtle Mountain Band of Ojibwe, all the way from representing the Indigenous Peoples Task Force in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
And welcome Simeon John of Chesapeake Bay, Alaska. Thank you, Hunter, for that awesome grand entry and for sharing in our welcome. As for our grantees, Waka, Kuyana Dailuchi. Greetings and thank you for joining us today. It is great to see you all here. At this time, I will pass it on to Chanel, who will share with us our first chat box question. Chanel?
Great. Thank you so much, Valerie. And thank you so much, Hunter. I feel rejuvenated. I feel ready to rock and roll and get this webinar going here. So thank you. And thank you all for joining us today. So the first chat box question we have, we want you to think about celebration of successes. And what does that look like in your community, in your program? How do you celebrate successes in collaboration with your older youth, right? With your transitional-aged youth, your older youth. So if you want to go ahead and pop your answers into the chat box, that would be wonderful. So thinking about celebrating successes, what does that look like for you specifically? How do you do that in collaboration with your older youth?
Yeah, Chanel, this is Dave. I know several grantees that I know of. They reward their youth, sometimes take them to an event, you know, a sporting event, to a movie, or, you know, they have a shut-in, you know, for kids so they can dance and eat and share stories, watch movies. I know that's
right. Great, thank you, Dave. I see we've got a couple of answers populated here. Shanoa mentioned there's cake for graduating seniors. I love that. Elizabeth Harris, the Youth Young Adult Council plans fun things. I love that. You know, in our community, we celebrate successes with Pendleton blankets to students that achieve really big accomplishments. So thank you all for sharing. And I think, I see another Jory Spencer, our native Stan High School class youth plan a class trip to celebrate the end of the term. Love that. Thank you all so much for participating in our first chat box question. So I think we're going to get things rolling, and I am actually going to pass this on over to Dallas. He is the project director of Native American Health Center, and he is our first presenter here. Dallas, do you want to take it away?
Sure. Good morning and good afternoon, everybody. My name is Dallas Wapipa, and first I'd like to thank Chanel, Holly Echo Hawk, and all the other Native Connections team. The program manager for the Native American Health Center. We're located in the San Francisco Bay Area. We have sites located in Oakland, San Francisco, and Richmond, as well as school-based sites throughout Oakland and San Leandro. My primary location is in the San Francisco Soma district. A little bit about myself. I represent the Kickapoo and Sac-and-Fox and Ojibwe nations. I've been at the Native American Health Center for over 13 years, and a lot of those years have been dedicated to youth services work, and I'm now currently the program manager and project director for Native Connections. A little bit about our community, our project. The vision that you see right now on the slide was created by our community and our transitional-aged youth during the planning year of the grant. Community continues to provide guidance on our Native Connections project. I'm going to go ahead and read the vision. So our vision is to provide accessible services to American Indian, Alaskan Native transitional-aged youth, support their seamless transition into adulthood, and provide a stable ground to fulfill their aspirations and dreams through embracing a healthy way of life and Native values. So for our topic today, reaching the older transitional-aged youth, just thinking about this topic and the demographic that we honed in on was that 18 to 24-year-old demographic. And for our age, for our organization, it's been a population underserved as far as these young Native adults. And one of the main things that we've noticed throughout the years is that a lot of our youth age out of our youth services programs and don't access our adult services that are available. For instance, we have like beading groups and talking circles, but we see a low attendance in, with our transitional age youth, or I like to call them TAY, an abbreviation for transitional age youth. But luckily, thanks to grants such as Native Connections and working closely with our internal and external partners, we've been able to strengthen efforts to fulfill those gaps in services. Some of the other things that we've done since year one is that we've conducted focus groups, being able to engage the older TAY, find out what their needs are. The first year, I remember, we gathered at our local community center called Inner Tribal Friendship House, and I think we had 10 older Native TAY that showed up, and a lot of their concerns were around, having a safe space for the older youth, the ones that are not necessarily can participate in our youth services programs that end around 17 years old. So, having that kind of space and having internships, support with personal statements, applying to schools, cultural services, resume building. So, we heard those needs, and that really started to help us form that implementation year and, really trying to reach out, finding different strategies. One of the ways, with my youth background was, reaching out to past participants, trying to really engage them in different aspects of programming. And another thing that we noticed is that a lot of the young people couldn't necessarily make, a group during the day, but we would get higher attendance for events that would take place at night. Some other main needs that came up in our second year of implementation when we conducted satisfaction surveys and needs assessments were prioritized as needing more cultural and wellness services, education and employment opportunities. Again, we took these messages from our young people and we're like, okay, let's find different activities, different strategies to help support them with these needs. Challenges, yeah, we encountered different challenges trying to carry out these different activities. And some of the major challenges that we come across was that we noticed a lot of the young people, these young adults, this 18 to 24-year-old demographic were, they had work and school schedules that conflicted with different events. A lot of here living in the San Francisco Bay Area, there's a lot of challenges around finances, which affects like transportation costs. They're concerned about how they're going to pay their bills. We have a lot of young parents too that have kids, or maybe they're expected to provide economic and emotional support in their household. There's a lot of different challenges that our young people are facing. Maybe they're not engaging in the community how they used to when they were in the youth services. They're at this transition point, and we want to honor that, but we also want to make sure that we're staying connected to the young people and that we're there to support them during this transition period. Solutions, yeah, community engagement. Finding those different strategies to stay engaged with the young people. So right now we're actually providing school-based services in addition to like our older TAY services. So it's kind of linking, going in, myself or my coworker, we might go into one of our school-based programs where we actually provide cultural workshops at our Washington High School and talk about our different cultural programs, but it's an opportunity for us to connect and link the young Native TAY that are aging out of high school and really connect them to our older TAY services, trying to make sure that they're staying connected constantly through our programming and staying consistent with our relationships with the young people. We don't want to lose that. It's very key. Just again, the importance of the community readiness assessment was like an amazing tool. I felt like, not only are we able to find out what the climate is as far as around suicide prevention, but we're able to also, those doors open. There's like certain needs that came out. Like we found out there's different mental health services that are really needed at some of our local colleges for the Native students. So again, using that tool to spark partnerships, to spark relationships with other young Native adults and provide them that services and let them know that they're not alone, that they don't have to feel like they're in these silos, and that there's a community that cares for them. Trust. Trust is huge, developing good relationships, being consistent. I feel like that's something that's always, young people, they'll hold you accountable. They might not say it, but they have their own ways of how they go about that. And it's important that we honor those relationships and we stay consistent with what we do, with programming, following through on our end. So there's a big piece around accountability as I feel as community workers when we're working with the young people, and then they feel valued. It's always, I feel like, really important that young people, we always remember to give them positive affirmations. They might not necessarily like show any response to it, but it like makes a serious impact when you let them know that, you're special, man. You have all the potential. Like they need to hear all these different positive affirmations, and a lot of that's built on trust. And again, just the peer-to-peer support. It's a huge, I feel like it's been a really theme for us. Like right now we have 7 core members, a part of our San Francisco Intertribal Unity Council. But lately there's been a higher attendance. Like some meetings might have 11, 12, 13 young people show up. And a lot of this has been done because of the peer-to-peer support of each other. They're acting independently where they're supporting each other and really finding ways to, let's do this positive thing, instead of doing something that might not be so good for them. And so I'm really proud of our young people that they're taking the initiative. They're not getting paid. They're just doing this on their own time. And, the Friendship House and ourselves, we provide the space. We provide be there as advisors. But I feel like that's a really important piece is when you can have those other role models that can ripple out to the other young people in the community. So some of our major accomplishments. So past year, we implemented our mentorship program, which is again kind of going on the needs of what our older young adults, our young Native adults are requesting. Is like, yeah, we want more internships, we want employment opportunities, and they want that cultural connection. So we worked with our internal partners and our external partners, and found that and did a 5-week program during the summer where it was around strengthening different themes around leadership. We weaved in some of our, right now we're doing the training, suicide prevention training called Question, Persuade, and Refer, the QPR training. So that was something we were able to do with our older TAE, providing the suicide prevention training, educational job readiness workshops. They did some job shadowing, some GONA training. And at the end of the program, mentees were encouraged to participate in some of our annual cultural events, such as our TAE GONA and our water walk. And during our 2-month follow-up, past participants reported back that they advocated for our programs at UC Berkeley Native student groups, and they also distributed some of the suicide prevention flyers at local resource fairs as well. And for that program, we had 4 mentees that attended. And kind of just going into our cultural services, we conducted two transitional age youth GONAs this past year. We had one at UC Berkeley where we were able to work, again, working with our internal partners. We were able to bring out a cultural consultant, Theta Newbreast, who conducted a GONA with the Native students at UC Berkeley, a 2-day GONA. And for that, I think we had 21 participants, all kind of Native identified indigenous students that were there. And I felt like that really showed us what a need that, a calling for the young people there that feel like they want to be connected to their culture. There's different things that they're struggling with as students. So we're still working with UC Berkeley and trying to find different ways to keep a connection there and provide cultural prevention services. We've done healing gatherings, water walks with Mona Stonefish, another cultural consultant, and just trying to engage the young people to be a part of that. Talking circles, we just had a talking circle at UC Berkeley earlier in this project year with Theta at UC Berkeley. And yeah, the TAE Council, we're able to always, turn to them to get feedback on program activities. We can share different ideas, run them by them. Maybe it could be like, what's a good incentive? What would be some cool ways to engage other young people? Always kind of turning to them to find out what are ways to really better our programming. Recommendations. And just keeping partnerships is really key to all of the different kinds of strengthening the services that are needed. And for recommendations, continue to, if you're not doing it, continue to do, if you are, continue to do those focus groups, continue to do those needs assessments. Again, encouraging the peer-to-peer support as much as possible. The more young leaders we can have, the more that's going to ripple out to the other young people in the community that are struggling. Because some of the realizations that we deal with is that, there's young people, young Native people that are out there and, they feel alone. They don't feel supported. But there's, we might not necessarily always be able to reach those very at-risk young people, but their peer could potentially reach them. And if we can give that young leader the skills they need, they can make an impact, a positive impact on those very at-risk young people that are hard to reach. So I really encourage that peer-to-peer support is really important. The TAE Council has been a platform for that, providing those different trainings like the QPR trainings, the GONAs, those talking circles, and those internships, those employment opportunities. They're platforms for us to to provide those cultural prevention activities, and finding different ways to integrate all of those different things in the programming is really essential because they're dealing with certain transitions. We want to honor that. They want these different things that our society says. I want a car. I want these things, but they don't necessarily have the means, or they're learning how to be an adult. So always trying to just let them know that you're there for them and providing those kind of services. And yeah, so I think I'll leave it at that. And thank you.
Thank you so much, Dallas. This is Shabri, everyone, and I just really wanted to thank Dallas again for sharing about his Native Connections program and project and all of the great work that you're doing to support older youth as they transition into adulthood during this really critical time. It's really exciting to hear about all of the wonderful things that you're doing. I kind of said, wow, 2 transitionally youth GONAs in the last year, and I just got a big smile on my face. I just think that's really powerful and awesome. So congratulations on all of the work that you're doing. Dallas has shared several events and activities for engaging with transitional-aged youth or older youth that have proven to be really successful and rewarding for his program and community and for the transitional-aged youth that he works with. And at this time, we wanted to give you the opportunity on the call today to share a little bit about a particular event, a rewarding event, it's something exciting that you want to share out. Maybe it's an activity that you felt that was really powerful that has involved engaging with older youth in your community.
Perhaps some of you are doing some talking circles or maybe a drum group, regalia making, or some kind of an event that the youth even planned and implemented in the community. You could share those thoughts too.
It looks like we have a few answers that are coming in our poll box here on the center of the screen. And it looks like several of our grantees have engaged with older youth through youth GONAs, youth and young adult-led gatherings for youth and young adults. So I love that those are young adult and youth led and driven. So I love that piece. Looks like one community that one of our grantees worked with started a garden and planted some medicines such as sage, and they tended to the garden.
I was going to say a really cool event that happened in this Spokane tribal community. Youth were trained in GONA, and then they actually became the GONA facilitators. So they were leading their own GONAs. But I see that up here, youth, young adult-led gatherings for youth and young adults. So that's phenomenal. I hope that persists, and I hope that keeps going in more communities.
Yes, thank you. I see that there was some youth interns who organized and led a poetry slam event for young adults and high school students to share their poetry, their songs, and any other forms of art. That seemed to be really well attended and really engaged some youth. There's many examples of some different ways where youth have been brought in for different cultural revitalization efforts, things around mental health, around social anxiety, volunteer opportunities for developing different kinds of events, putting on talent shows. I see a lot of examples in here where these youth-led and youth-driven events have been particularly successful, and where that content is, it really speaks to the kinds of information that they feel is important to them, and that they're able to showcase their own talents and what they care about. Great. Melanie commented in the chat box that they have monthly traditional teaching and knowledge classes for the community each month as well, and they have a garden that they tend to as well to engage with the community, engage with older youth around traditional knowledge. So thank you, Melanie. I appreciate you commenting. These are examples of some really great events and activities, and thank you so much for sharing, everyone. I know that each community is different and unique, and finding those components that work really well for you and speak really well to the youth and older youth specifically that are at that transitional age are really important. So I'm glad that you've all found some particularly exciting and rewarding events and have had some success in your community with engaging with a little bit more hard to reach population. So at this time, looks like I have the pleasure of introducing our next guest grantee presenter, Madeline Mainhart with the Santa Ynez Tribal Health Clinic. She is a Native Connections Cohort 3 grantee. And Madeline, I want to thank you for joining us today, and I will hand it over to you.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. So as she said, my name is Madeline, and so we are based in California, Southern California. We're kind of in a very unique setting because we're very rural, and the closest reservation to us is probably about 4 hours from us. And so our community, the population is around 8,000 people, and so we have one high school. Well, we have one community school and one private high school as well, in addition to about 8 to 10 middle school, elementary schools. So we often struggle with outreach, and I know some of you guys probably have a great relationships with schools, and you are able to bring those programming into the schools. And so our school is probably a little bit, they serve mainly Hispanics and whites, and so we struggle to build a relationship with them. So we have tried to focus more on like programming here on the reservation. And so we have a youth council. This is our 4th year with Native Connections, and we formed a youth council beginning in 2016. And so this consists of ages 12 to 24, and it started off really small, 2 or 3 people, and it's now grown to about 15 to 20 people. And so most of our youth are around, some of them are 12 to 17, and then I would say half and half, 12 to 17 and then 18 to 24. And so what we started to notice when we started getting more participation was reaching out to them on an individual basis rather than relying on like email blasts or communicating with their parents or posting up flyers on the bulletin board. So we've had a huge increase in our Instagram as well, and so just reaching out to them individually and building that rapport with them, and hey, do you want to meet for coffee, or just telling them a little bit about our youth council and what programs they would like to see incorporated in their community, so you know that they are being heard. Is when we found a really huge increase in our programming. And so we also have done a lot of other evaluation efforts, such as focus groups. And so our focus groups consisted of like what programs would you like to see on the reservation, and kind of built our grant deliverables and our programming off of those recommendations. And a lot of the feedback that we heard from them was that like there's never been an opportunity for us to even speak about recommendations on programming. So it's really great that you guys are giving us this space to be heard. And then also we do annual surveys just to gather a little bit more information about their perception on suicide prevention and if there are any possible barriers to seeking help or for others to seek help. And so this has really helped us kind of internal with our mental health providers as well as our medical providers on how we could better respond to our youth, our Native youth. And yeah, so this is our vision and values statements, and they actually create. Sorry, I'm saying a lot, and I'm just noticing it. They created this with focus groups as well, so we're really big on, as I mentioned earlier, about them having a say, and so we pretty much have the slogans like nothing about us without us, and so anytime we make a decision, we go to them first before speaking on behalf of them. And so some of our programs, our youth programs, have been led by our youth. For example, we have one of our youth council members who is in the process of getting her yoga teaching certification, and so she hosted a Yoga on the Res series where she invited the community, and so kind of to participate in yoga. So it kind of really helps point out and gives them the leadership skills and really helps them take that recognition and being able to kind of in a strengths-based approach. And so we have been trying to do that a lot more about what programming do you think that you could host? Okay, let's do that. Give them the contact information, help them with the flyer, and just go on from here. And that also helps us with sustainable purposes as well. And then I would say mainly our huge. You could go to the next slide, or can I do that? Okay. So these pictures are. This was back in September of 2019. This was our first youth gathering, youth mental health gathering. So this was one day, 9 to 5, and it was ages 12 to 24. And we had a few different tracks. One of them was suicide prevention, how we could better respond, what to do if we need help, and what are some local crisis resources available here in the county. And then we also had somebody from CRIB talk about leadership skills and just building protective factors. And then throughout the gathering, we also had some self-care stations, and we kind of just gave them space to just to be there and understand mental health and put those terms into terms that they would be able to understand. And this was all for youth, and so some of the tribes came from out of the area, and well, most of them did. And we actually tried something new to dismiss the chaperones, just because our youth have always expressed to us that there may be better dialogue when adults or staff members aren't in the room, and they feel more comfortable on voicing their opinion when there's not staff or adults who may judge them or may speak up and say, no, that's not the way, and stuff like that. So we kind of really gave that a space for them to do what they want, and so we will be, this is our first one too, and so we will be hosting this again next year. And let's see, talked about youth gathering. That's about it, I believe. Any questions? I don't know.
Hey, Madeline, this is BC Echohawk. We've moved to the next slide, building relationships. And I know that you have created some great connections there in your community. Would you maybe want to speak to some of these aspects of how one can build these strong relationships in the community, particularly as it relates to your youth?
Definitely. So kind of like I said earlier about just reaching out to them on an individual basis. And if you guys have a staff member who is closer to their age, or maybe an elder or somebody, if you guys can identify somebody in the community who maybe youth look at them as a mentor or a role model, and just really reaching out to them, meeting up for coffee, meeting up for lunch, and just really talking to them about their programming and what changes they want to see. And we also have noticed that texting, we do a lot of texting, even when there's programming coming up the day of or the morning of, the night before, just to remind them, because we have seen things pop up that they're unable to attend, or sometimes a lot of them say, I honestly forgot. If you wouldn't have texted me, I wouldn't have gone. And we also, what we also do with our programming is we really try to include them in on the whole logistics. And so what we've been recently doing these past few months is kind of writing out like job tasks for the program so they can take more initiative, and that builds more leadership skills. And so we know that they'll show up, even if it's, for instance, like something so little like coming up with the lunch menu, or setting up the photo booth, or gathering medicine, simple stuff like that, so they could take some type of ownership, and it kind of is a reflection, the program is a reflection of them, and not just staff doing everything. And so just building relationships, can't reiterate this as much, but just connecting with them on a one-to-one basis is what we've done, even on Instagram, being active on your story and the post. We often DM our youth who follow us, just saying, hey, this is here, and then going from there.
Share with us a little bit about how you identify champions in your community and recognize them.
Yeah, well, we look at our youth as like the champions, as well as like our stakeholders, for instance, parents. I guess, you know, it may be different from our perspective. We feel that anyone who comes to our events who has interest in youth programming or mental health related to youth, who come up to our trainings, our mental health trainings, our suicide prevention trainings, those are all gatekeepers, our champions, and we also are really big on our youth, how they are also our gatekeepers, our champions as well. So really giving them responsibility and letting their... Wonderful. Thank you so much, Madeline. That was wonderful. That information was great, and thank you for providing us with that content in your amazing program. So next, we are going to be shifting into another chat box question. And this one is pertaining to, so just thinking a little bit about Dallas's presentation and Madeline's presentation. They shared a bit on some trainings that were completed. Dallas mentioned GONA and QPR. Madeline mentioned yoga certification. That's wonderful. So we want you to think about what kinds of training does your Native Connections project provide, if any, for older youth leadership development. So what does that look like for your community? I know some communities train in the mental health first aid, youth mental health first aid, assist, youth leadership skills camps, digital storytelling. So we wanted you to drop in this middle chat box here in the middle of the screen, some trainings that your project provides for older youth leadership development.
So Chanel, it looks like someone listed job skills, Safe Talk and Assist, Native Stand, which stands for Sources of Strength Youth Leadership Connect, how to seek help, and Thrive Conference. I've heard one of my grantees have gone to the Thrive Conference, QPR, the Youth Mental Health First Aid, again, QPR mentorship training. These are some awesome things that you're coming up with and sharing with us. I really appreciate that.
Wonderful. Thank you all. Learning traditional values and how to be successful in the modern world. That is really interesting. I love that. Helping a friend through grief. I know a lot of communities are providing grief trainings, and I think that that's really important. So thank you all for sharing these. We've got Alcohol Literacy Challenge, ALC class, that public speaking. You guys are great. You guys are great. This is a lot of good information. I remember one of my grantees sharing with me that they had actually gone and they were working with older age youth, and they actually taught them, they practiced interviewing skills with them, and went over, what to wear for an interview, how to prepare for the interview. And I thought that was so amazing, because I know as a youth on our reservation, those were some things that I needed, but didn't necessarily seek out as I need this training, and we didn't really necessarily have that. So these are wonderful. Thank you all for sharing. I really appreciate it. This is a good list we've got going here.
Not to mention the LEAD conference that happens every year in Alaska. That's really awesome too. And I know several grantees do the peer-to-peer education. It's awesome.
Wonderful. Well, thank you all. I really appreciate that. And I think we will be going ahead, and I just wanted to note here that we're going to be having Blossom Sustainable Development presenting today, but unfortunately something came up and they will not be able to join, but we're hopeful that in the future they will be able to share their wonderful presentation and information with you all. So with that, I am going to go ahead and pass it on over to Valerie.
Thank you, Chanel. I'm going to go right into our next chat box question, which is around strategic planning. And the question is, what strategies do you use to keep Native Connections youth engaged? And I invite you to please put your answer into the middle of the chat box there. Again, the question is, what strategies do you use to keep Native Connections youth engaged? I know some grantees have, they put on group activities or celebrations. Others have put on pizza parties to celebrate the youth, the leadership and hard work that they do in their communities. Some communities do potlucks or potlatches to celebrate the youth. I see one of our grantees has focus groups and activities collaborating with youth services, and another collaborating with youth program on activities, and giving them a voice. Ask them for their ideas and let them lead. That's always a great idea. Getting involved and into leadership roles. And I heard another one of the grantees, they put the youth in charge of the GONIN and had the youth take over that event. Other communities have used door prizes. I've heard about that. And also put the youth in charge to digital storytelling projects. They reel them in by teaching cultural crafts or cultural food preparations. We do our grantees do things like participating in extracurricular activities such as basketball, softball, to build relationships. Those are great. Sports is always a great avenue to use. Self-expression projects.
I like that one where the self-expression project where you can be allowing the youth to be creative. And creativity is a part of who we are too, so that's awesome.
And then also having a well-developed youth council, really giving them a voice in their community, in their school. Have youth representation for communities and community planning groups. Give them a voice in your advisory councils, in your meetings within your community. And food is always a great incentive. That helps in any project, any activity. That's a great thing that brings people in. I also see one of our grantees do culturally based activities with elders, teaching the activities and involve the elders. And this happens in Tuxtlan and the Animalak. That's great.
And I remember. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Dave.
Well, I just remember Dallas talking about consistency, and so I see here staying consistent. And I really agree because youth really watch what you're doing if you're really what you're about. and if you walk, you talk. And if you do, if you're there for the youth, and they know that you are there, because they're going to come back. And so they, like here, they look forward to activities week after week because they can depend on you and you're consistent. So that's real critical. Thank you for that.
I see some other great ideas, praying for details of hosting the powwow, like cleanup and security, and also assign youth navigators to take pictures during any given activity or event. Those are great. Giving them those real leadership roles and giving them an active role in whatever your community is doing. These are all really great ideas, and I really thank you for participating. I'm sure everyone appreciates the opportunity to add to their toolboxes. And now, it's my great pleasure to introduce you to Rick Dunaway, who is the Native Connections Manager for Nunilchik. Rick?
Hey, Valerie, thank you. Thank you guys for the opportunity just to talk about our program. Like she said, I'm Rick Dunaway. I'm from Nunilchik, Alaska. Just a little background. We're located on the Kenai Peninsula, about 190 miles south of Anchorage, south central Alaska. The original settlements in our tribal lands were made by the Dena'ina people, which is the Athabascan culture of the south central Alaska. We're a pretty culturally diverse community of about 900 people. I don't know where they're all hiding, but it says 900 people. We got a gas station, a school, 2 restaurants, 2 liquor stores, a main road, 2 rivers, and a boat launch, and a lot of fishing charters around here. Not a whole lot, but we do have a lot of community of youth that need our guidance to become healthy, happy adults. But there's not a whole lot of opportunity locally, and education funding really doesn't help with that either. A large part of our program's efforts go towards working with older youth, and when I say older youth, I still consider the youth that are getting ready for that transition as well. So we do a lot of work with older high school and recent graduates as well. Just to organize what I do, I kind of broke down what our program does into 5 different slides. And the first one I'll talk about is prevention education. Obviously, prevention is a steering agent for our program and the Native Connections grant. So we put a lot of effort towards prevention. First off, the relationship that we have with our local school is really big in what we're able to do. They're very welcoming to us, which I don't know is like that in every single community, probably not, just from what Madeline said earlier. We're able to go into the school and we can meet with the youth at their lunchtime, and when they have advisory time, which is an hour free time a day, we're allowed to go in and we can facilitate activities. We can do lessons and even classroom demonstrations, which is something we just started doing. It's the easiest way for us to reach the largest amount of youth at once. So talking about, what Dallas said, going and meeting them where they're at, that's huge. And so right now we have someone that goes into the school 2 or 3 times a week to do different craft activities like beading or knitting. They do driftwood work and paper making and things like that. So really there's no art program, music program in our school, so we have to kind of fill in a lot of those gaps. The first thing I'll talk about on prevention is Red Ribbon Week, which it's a big national anti-drug, anti-bully campaign, and it was designed just to kind of get communities getting youth to participate in prevention activities. What we do as a program is we meet up and we come up with all kinds of different activities. We do participation incentives and we do drawings and things like that for people who participate in our prevention activities. It's a week-long, and we have themes for every day, so it gets the whole school excited. So like Monday might be Too Smart to Start Day. Everybody dresses up as, nerds, or Tuesday could be Help a Friend, stay away from drugs, which could be like a twin day. So really we just kind of, the whole school takes it up, and everybody's talking about anti-drug messaging and participating in our activities. Teen Domestic Violence Awareness Month is another initiative that we were allowed to go into the school, and we were able to do different activities to teach kids about healthy relationships and about their individual rights. we had an after prom lock-in, which was, specifically for older youth, where, after prom is a night where is high risk for a lot of youth to participate in at-risk behavior. So we went into the school. We were able to rent out the school and bring in a whole bunch of activities and have a lot of fun for the night and keep everybody safe. Health fairs is something that we attend. They're a lot of fun. We usually take a couple of youth with us to help with our presentations. We bring our pig ones to display so they can show the negative impact of smoking to other youth. And because this is something that we've done the last few years, parents actually actively seek out our table to show their kids the difference between, a smoker's lung and a non-smoker's lung. So that also provides us the opportunity to talk about our program and to interact with other communities' youth as well, because we go to multiple health fairs. We also have our Yup Camp, which is, I'll talk a little bit more about that later, which is our culture camp that we do at the end of every summer. And then we also have, we really try to urge kids to utilize our facility to create clubs, we had a Dungeons and Dragons club and a creative writing club, because we feel like, if they can take leadership and have ownership in something, that's just strengthening another protective factor for them. My next slide is elder and youth engagement. This is something that we really stress in these last couple of years. I've been part of the Native Connections program for the last year and a half, and this is an element of our community that wasn't as strong as it could have been, and it's continuing to get stronger. What we did was we met with our elders outreach coordinator, and we're basically just saying, what can our elders teach our youth? We know that they have skills, and we need to make that connection. So what can we do? And just that conversation alone sparked, a few months filled with different activities that we could do. The coordinator herself is a accomplished chef. She went to culinary school, and not only that, she was born and raised here in Nenochik. So, traditional dishes and cooking was something that she loved to do. So that took up a large part of our activities. So we did cooking classes, parat, agudik. Agudik, we got to learn from different regions of Alaska the ways that they make it in different ways as well. We learned how to do chowders, how to make jams. We had to go do berry picking. And this is all with the youth and elder activities. We also held cooking competitions that were community-wide, where the youth were able to compete with everybody. And we even had a youth win a competition who is an aspiring chef, and that really, you could tell that boosted his love for cooking and his desire to be a professional at it. We do community events with elders there as well. We're always trying to reach out and invite elders to participate in our community events that we do pretty much on a monthly basis. We try to help out elders through community services. So in the summer, it could be just helping an elder move, or we've even done things around the house that they need help with, like that they're not able to do, yard work and things. Painted somebody's house right before winter hit, and even go around in the winter, when kids have early release from school or older age youth that are recent graduates, we'll text them all and see who all can come, and we'll drive around in the car and we'll go and shovel people's driveways and walkways so that they're able to walk around without getting hurt. And that's just something really fun and cool that we do. And in turn, the elders, they provide us with a lot of activities and knowledge, like ice fishing. That was something that we were able to do. The elders they helped with making poles and brought us out and taught us how to do everything. We do subsistence fishing on our nets. They taught us how to mend the nets. And they just taught us a lot of different things throughout the year. So it's been a great relationship that we've had with them, and just connecting them with our youth and our older youth. It only benefits our community. This next one was an awesome activity, and it was geared towards older youth, especially the hunt part. We applied for a cultural educational permit, and I didn't really have high expectations that we were going to get it or anything, but we put a lot of effort. We worked with an elder helping us put forth this application, and we were all like super pumped when we got it. We were really happy. But that's when we had to start putting forth the effort and go into our education and educate the youth about, we did more moose orientation, moose identification, and a hunter safety class for the youth before they were able to go out scouting. Once everybody had their education, we went out for a week and we brought elders, and it was really cool. The elders would show us like their favorite hunting spots, and it was kind of funny because the elders would almost turn into kids, you know, when you got them out in the wilderness and got them out to their old hunting spots, and you know, they were talking about this is a good spot at this time of the year and all this, and it was just really cool to learn about the land that they grew up around. And of course, they taught us how to track what the animals are eating, how they move and things. So it was really interesting. We had the hunt itself after a week of scouting. It was a lot of hard work as well. We went out at 6 in the morning and hunted all day, got back about midnight, which in Alaska, we have light all day. So it was still, you know, just getting dark when we were getting back. And then we woke up at 5 o'clock the next morning to go out even earlier. And we were driving down the land, and it was still dark. We didn't even have visibility. And you know, getting deeper and deeper. Next thing you know, the light starts to hit, and one of our youth sees the moose, and then there it was. So not even an hour into the day, we saw our moose. And we got our moose. We did our field processing, so everybody could learn how to do that. Brought it back to hang, and then that led into a whole slew of other activities that we could do. We did a butchering class. We did a 2-day, it took 2 days for us to form a youth assembly line and elder assembly line and grind it all up and package it and get it ready so that it can be distributed for the elders and for our community potluck that we're going to have with it. I could go into a lot more about that moose hunt, but that was just a great experience. And you know, anyone interested in applying for that cultural educational permit, if you have any questions, you can always ask me about that. That was an amazing experience. Education and employment. I would say the big thing that we do for education is our study hall and our quarterly life skills. Study hall is something that we do. It's our after-school program. We do it 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday, and it's for 2 hours after school. It's basically a quiet place that the kids are able to come and do their homework. We have all the resources that they could need. We have computers, we have paper pens, internet, folders, you know, anything that they could possibly need to get their homework done. And they're also able to us and have us help them with homework, and sometimes parents and volunteers are welcome to come and help with as well. The quarterly life skills is an activity that's decided on by the committee. It's usually an activity that connects the youth with some kind of opportunity or help them build a professional skill. We've done activities such as like trips to AdTech, which is our technical school that's a couple hours away. We host college preparation classes, host a job fair with local businesses. We do classes on resume writing, scholarship applying, and other classes that will just help with the professional development skills. And sometimes in the winter we do community service. In the summer it's pretty much weekly where we do a community service, and we started a log so that the youth are able to community service hours that they may need in case they want to use that information for colleges later on or applying for scholarships. The last slide I got here is we try to get outdoors whenever we can. The winter is a little bit tougher here, but in the summers it's just beautiful, light all the time. The weather is mild, so we have our camp that we do, our Yelp camp. I'll talk a little bit about that. We have activities such as swimming, horseback riding, hatchet throwing, shelter building, archery. We do traditional cooking and storytelling, and then we mix in team building activities with our camp. The youth have responsibilities at our camp. It could be cutting wood or making a fire, cooking dinners, or tending to the horse. Yelp is the summer program, and what we usually do for our summer program, and a lot of it is working with older youth as well, is we meet 3 times a week. We have a day where we do community services, a day that's more fun and educational, and then Friday is our it's just an open night where they can come to our teen center and play games and hang out. The community service part of Yelp not only benefits the entire community, but it benefits the youth directly because they're now having that ownership and they're, and making an impact in their community. They make that connection with the people they're helping, and of course it helps them look good, with their portfolios and when they want to show colleges or scholarships that they know how to use their time effectively. Some of the community services that we might do, a lot of it's in our communities, like our library, our community garden. At our local fairgrounds, we'll clean up after Salmon Fest, which is like a ginormous Alaskan concert that's held here, huge. And we also do things like clean vehicles that are emergency services. So like we'll go over there and we'll clean the fire trucks and we'll clean the ambulances and they'll give us tours of the facilities and teach us about, how the older youth can volunteer their time for the fire hall. And then the fun educational activities are things usually we do, like we'll do a marine biology tour, which is, it's only about an hour down the road. A lot of the things that we do, we have to go outside of our community and reach out with other organizations and other people to help share resources, because there's not, like I said, there's not a lot of opportunity here. So partnerships are huge. So we could do a marine biology tour. We went hiking on historical culture sites and learn about the land. We go on glacier hikes. We do things like photo scavenger hunts or beach scavenger hunts. We go swimming in the river. We might just go on a hike, or we do wilderness classes as well. In the winter, we do things like we go ice fishing. Like I told you about the elders taking us ice fishing. We did a winter survival class. We did that twice, and it was a 2-day class. Again, we brought in somebody that's a survivalist expert that could teach the kids all about certain survival skills. And then last year, we were even invited to do a stream bank conservation project. So someone reached out to us. We had to replant some willows to help fortify the stream bank wall. And so these got to actually have an environmental impact, not just a community impact. The older youth are kind of just kept in contact with, the ones that are still in the community that maybe recently graduated. We didn't have a lot of those recently, but we support them any way that we can. We help them come up with long-term goals and come up with a plan to help reach their goals. And we're kind of constantly in communication with the older youth. We're always on the lookout for opportunities that can benefit them. And I think we've kind of got the reputation in our community that, if somebody knows of, oh, I need somebody for this, or I need someone for this job, they kind of reach out to us, and we're kind of that intermediary to connect that opportunity with the older youth. So I think we must be doing something right if we've established ourselves as that connection to help youth receive jobs and things that aren't normally posted. We kind of get that word of mouth. So yeah, just kind of always knowing and having that connection with the older youth and keep trying to connect them to opportunities. And I think that's the main part that we do with them. And that's it for my presentation. Thank you guys very much.
Hey, thank you, Rick. That was really awesome. And I really love the pictures. And, pictures paint a lot of words, and you guys have a lot of things going on in your community. It's really, really awesome. I just wish we all could just be transported to your community and just kind of, just watch and see what's going on. And so, thank you. So, this brings us to our questions and comments. Perhaps you have some questions in the back of your mind you've been wanting to ask. But this, it's, again, I want to thank you for joining our webinar today. And as we move into the new year of the Native Connections Grant, we are wondering what training and technical assistance topics would be most helpful in building the capacity in your community, in your project. So I want you to think about that, some training and technical assistance topics that you might want to know more about. I know in some of the other presentations you you did share some of those things. So just putting out there, if you want to go ahead and share your thoughts in the chat, that'd be great. One of the things that I was wondering about is how do you provide prevention information in your community in the most effective way? Do you have a response to that? How do you provide prevention information in your community most effective? Getting that word out there about suicide prevention, substance abuse prevention. Okay, well, I have another question then for either Dallas or Madeline. So how do you, does your program engage elders with your youth? And even Rick.
This is Dallas. First, I want to thank the other grantees. Those are awesome presentations. In regards to the elders, that's something we could actually strengthen more for our programming. Right now, we have an adult, like older council called the Blanket Weavers Advisory Board, and more recently, the Transitional-Aged Youth Council met with them to get advice on, so one of the big goals with our youth council, our TAY council, is that they're fundraising to send a couple of the members to the annual Unity conference in July. So they sought out guidance from the Blanket Weavers Advisory Board that really consists of like the elders in the community. Even though it's open to adults, it's really consists of the elders. So that's been one way is our TAY council has been engaging with the Blanket Weavers. The other one has been have hosted annual Wiping of the Tears gathering ceremony where with our partners and really engaging the young adults to be a part, the young TAY to be a part of that gathering. And that's helping set up, serve elders, prepping, taking part in certain protocols with the ceremony itself. But I really like what Rick mentioned in this programming around with the elders program. That was some really amazing stuff. So thank you.
Yes, thank you, Dallas. And I think it is amazing that we are connecting youth with the elders, because we know they are the wisdom keepers. They have the knowledge and are connected to ceremonies, and that's so great. That Blanket Weavers, that's awesome advisory group that you mentioned there. Anything you would care to share, Madeline, regarding engaging you connecting youth with elders in your community?
Yeah, actually, we were kind of just talking about it when the earlier facilitator was talking, and we're like, we need to engage our elders more, because what I've heard, so I've been with the project since day one, and often I've heard like, oh, this is a great event. After like we advertise like the success on our social media, they'll see like elders in the background or community members who are not between ages 12 and 24. They're like, oh, we didn't know that. It was open to everybody. And because since our programming is mainly for our youth, so we often have community-based events, such as like a 3-on-3 basketball tournament. And we also invite our elders to these events. And we have learned that we need to reach out to them, either phone calls or knock on their doors rather than like texting as we do with our youth, just switching up that type of interaction with them to make them more comfortable. We found that works. Sometimes they'll even just show up at our office, while on the other hand, like our youth, they wouldn't do that. They would just like text us or give us a phone call or DM us. And so we actually, we were just talking about how we need to engage our elders more, maybe have something like a elder youth programming too, since we're still new to this. But we do email blasts. We do reach out to them, invite them to when we have our community events. and kind of just tailor their needs onto like what they would like to see. So for example, like if we have like the 3-on-3 basketball tournament, we can also be having another like station self-care or just like an informational booth on like suicide prevention. So we always try and tailor to like everyone's age group that go to these community events. So if there's like a 5-year-old, we can have a little like coloring book session, or like making abalone necklaces, and like our elders, maybe they could do beading, and then the ones who want to be joining in on the basketball tournament. But this is definitely something that we were just discussing, how we need to have more programming. So I appreciate the ideas that he gave us earlier.
Yes, and thank you for that, Madeline. You know, when we talk about stakeholders in communities, every member in the community is actually a potential stakeholder, and that includes our elders. So thanks for thinking about that. And so let's move on to a question that was posed by Mr. Michael Ortiz, who's also on the webinar here. And this is about, you know, that, you know, turnover in terms of staff and youth. You know, they come and go. And I guess he's wondering, and this is a question for our presenters, how did you create the long-term plan? You know, your focus on newbies and the newcomers, and how to get them engaged, and where do you generally begin? You know, in trying to build that relationship and that connection with the youth in your program. Anybody care to respond to that question?
Yeah, I'll just touch on it. This is Rick. As far as, you know, constantly getting, you know, our new youth into our program, a large part of our efforts are set towards, you know, the 7th grade and up. So once kids are getting into middle school and starting to look towards high school and the daily habits and routines of high schoolers and things like that. So really, we notice, you know, every year there's kind of this group that's in 6th going into 7th, and they're super excited that they can finally start to go to teen center. I mean, really, it's funny because, you know, kids come up there the first couple times, they're there, and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy that I can finally come. And, you know, they're really excited to be able to be into our programs, because a lot of the work that we do with the younger groups are more geared towards doing things in the school, and, you know, our after-school programs are more geared towards older youth. So I think there's always that excitement of when you first get into our program. So I think there's a lot of buy-in, you know, with the younger youth in our program.
Thank you, Rick. I appreciate your sharing your response to that question. So I'm looking at the clock here, and so we had a comment made by Jody Larson, and I think this is really cool. She said that they started a grandparent support group, which is well attended in their community, and I presume that's connected to the Native Connection projects and connecting those to the youth as well. So thank you, Jody. I've never heard that before, and that's awesome. All right, so and keeping an eye on the clock here, let's move on to our, that was our question there. So move on to this one here in terms of closing. I want to thank you for joining us today. I would like to share a quote by Mahatma Gandhi, who I really admire, and you know, there's a lot of quotes by him, and he's so awesome. So his quote is to acknowledge the hard work and effort by all of us as we work together for a brighter future and promising future for our communities. So this is what he says. We must become the change we want to see in the world. So with that, I want to go ahead and turn it over to BC for a few more words. BC?
Thank you, Dave. As you can see, upcoming webinars, Building and Maintaining Healthy Partnerships on February 25th And in March, April, and May, we'll begin our evaluation series, looking at the evaluation toolkit that's been developed, parts 1, 2, and 3. Additionally, we actually will be having a couple of webinars on digital storytelling and workshops on how to produce good digital storytelling tools, parts 1 and 2, February 27th and March 26th. Keep an eye on your email. You'll be getting invitations to those. And finally, we just thank you for joining us. We hope we have a productive year here coming up, and feel free to share those ideas that you might want for future programming with your GTAs. Thank you very much.